Okay, good evening. We're going to start tonight, Be'ezus Hashem, with the Gemara on Tana Rabbanon on top of Bava Aleph. Look at the Gemara. Tana Rabbanon, Yoda, it says in the pasuk Yoda, Shemayra Esabriyos, it's the Lashon of Mayra, it teaches, like the Torah is called Torah, it's also the same Lashon, that it teaches the people that Tiach Gageseim to patch up their roofs, the roofs, with the V or F, I think roofs, I'm not sure. And to bring in their payers that are drying out in the fields, and it's and to do all the other things they need to do before the winter. It's like when Israel drops a knock bomb on a building, just to let them know, like, there's more coming. So Hashem gives like a small rain. That's to show that this is the beginning of the rain season, and now you have to make sure that your roofs are intact and your payers are in from the fields. And Rashi doesn't explain what Lasses Kotzachecha means. Oh, Imam just started. And and to prepare for the winter, to get everything done for the winter. Okay, another pshat in two dots in another pshat in the Lashon of Yoyres. We had the first pshat we said was that it teaches you that the winter's coming to get prepared to fix your roof and bring in your pairs. And another Lashon is the Shemirava es haaretz umashka atohim. It from the Lashon of Maraba is like it penetrates the ground. Like the Lashon of Maraba we have like when animals are together, it's this Lashon of Riboy. So it penetrates the ground and it quenches the thirst of into the depths. Shamar telamer reveach nachi gedudah berivim temagigat simcha devarech. It says that all these different lashonos of the tamali reveh. It's going to fill up the. It's going. This is the whole lashon of it's going to. I forgot the exact touch of all these words. It's going to fill it's going to penetrate and fill up, and it's going to it's going to sprout in bracha. It goes down nicely and not with a zaf with a shtarke. In fact, the Gemara said all these three pshatim of yoyre is lashon bracha, right? Either that it teaches you to prepare for the winter, or that it penetrates and impregnates the ground, or that it goes down benachas. Maybe a yara is a lashon. Rashi explains three different ways that it could be a lashon of shtarkei, that it knocks down the pears off the trees, it washes away the seeds. It washes away the seeds, and it destroys the ilanis. It says in the pasuk, so it says Yoda Malkush together. Malkush levracha, Yoda levracha. The same way Malkush is levracha, so too Yoda is levracha. Now Malkush has to be levracha because at the time of Malkush, which he said was by Nisan, there are no payers to wash away. The one is going to explain this further. Maybe Malkush is also not levracha. Maybe also it destroys the houses, the heavy rain that breaks the houses. And it breaks the trees, and it brings up the locust. I don't know why rain brings up locusts, but I guess that's where they come from. A little bit of a circular reasoning over here. We said Yoira is a bracha because of Malkush. Having another Malkush is a bracha because of Yoira. So circular reasoning in a spreadsheet it will come up as an error. But over here, the Gemara is going to explain right there. We just said Yoira is from Malkush. How can you say that Malkush is from Yoira? The Bnei Tzion, the Eden, are going to celebrate and be happy with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He gave them moira for tzedakah. Moira is the same lashon as yoyda, right? The same shirish. The yoyda lechem geshem moira umalkosh berishan, and he brings down moira and malkosh berishan. So you see that at least Maira is referred to with tzedakah. So the same way Maira is tzedakah, so Malkush is also, which is a bracha, so too Malkush is a bracha. That's what we said. We had this before. Yored is Barachezrin and Yored is Barachezrin, and we had this on Beis Amid. We had this in the beginning. Here, the Hey Last block. Yored Barachezrin Malkush Benisim. How do you know that it's Nisan and Iyar? And how do you know that it's Cheshvan and Nisan? Maybe it's the next month. Maybe it's Tishrei and Iyar. It says in the passage we just read that it's Be'ita. It comes in its proper Zman. Be'ita Malkush. Be'ita. It has to come in its proper Zman. And the proper Zman is in Nisan and in Cheshvan and in Nisan. Because there has to be a lighter rain by Nisan when we plant, and then there has to be a heavier rains that soak the lands later. Malkush, what the Gemara is going to analyze this word, Malkush. Where does it come from? Amrav Nehilai by Idi Amrav Shmuel Dava Shemol Kashisei and Shal Yisrael. Mo is lashon like Mila. The article that just excises, which I had to look up. It takes out, it removes the stubbornness from Yisrael. Why? Because when they don't have rain, everyone is machniya themselves. And, there could be a big shop, but when you broke, everyone gets down on their knees and begs. Something that fills up. That's bakasha. What does that mean? That it fills up the tua in what's the word kasha? What does the article say? It's a malatfua.
And it fills the stalks with rain.
Oh, it makes the stalks full of tua. Also, it's something that it falls on the melilus, which is on the ears, which is the fruit part of the stalk, and on the stalk. Umalkush Benisan. Is in fact which we just said that. Maybe it's not Cheshvan, maybe it's Kislev. Sorry. And Yoida has to be in its and once Yoida is even the Gemara's story is a little backwards. All right, so we're saying it's in Cheshvan, so if it's in Kislev, it doesn't work. So it has to be that it's in its right spot. Tanya, that we have a sheet that says the Yara isn't Kislev. Who's the Chacham that says that it's bracha to have after Cheshvan? It's still a bracha to have rain. Tani, we can have Rabbi Yossi in the following brisa. There's a few different sheetahs and Rabbi Yossi at the end. What's the first Raviyah as lashon of rain? What's the first rain? Habachira, the first one is b'shloishim mecheshvan, the third day of mecheshvan. Beinin is b'shiva bay, and then the second rain is on the seventh day of cheshvan. Afilu b'shiva asabay divrei Meir. Even on the 17th day. That's what Meir says. Yehuda Aimer b'shiva. It starts off on the 7th day of Cheshvan, Ubi Zayin, on the 17th of Cheshvan, on the 23rd of Cheshvan. That's the spacing of the rains. It starts in Yud Zayin, and in 23, and in the 23rd, and on Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So we see again. Let's just stop for a second. We see Rabbi Yossi holds that rain in Kislev is a simon bracha. It doesn't have to all be in Cheshvan. So we're going to have later, the Gemara is going to discuss the protocol when there's a lack of rain. And Rav Yossi says that the Yechidim, which means the Chasidim, like the Rabbanim, don't start fasting until it's Rosh Chodesh Kislev and there's still no rain. So you see that even Rosh Chodesh Kislev is the Zman of rain. I'm going to the halacha of Rav Yossi, that the halacha is like Rav Yossi, that the Zman of rain is Yud Zayin, Chav Gimel, and Rosh Chodesh. A Meimer Masila Rav Chizda B'Hal Lishna. Meimer has this halacha, that has this member of Chizda on another brisa altogether. On the third day of Cheshvan, we start asking for rain. On the seventh day. So he has this Rav Chizda that he holds not necessarily Rav Yossi, but he holds Rav Gamliel. Kaman Azla Hadatani. In fact, the following brisa, who goes according to? Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Aimer Geshavim Sheyardu Shiva Yamim Zachazeh At the minor behem revia rishayna ushniya at the minor behem revia rishayna ushniya or ushniya ushlishas. So what does that mean? If I have a rain that falls 7 consecutive days, it counts as the first rain and the second rain, or depending on when it falls, the second rain and the third rain. Now who's it go according to? Come on, Kabesi. And then we have another member. Because we go back, Reb Meir says that here, what do we have here? Tanya. So it wouldn't make sense that it has to be 7 days. That only if it falls 7 days, I only have to count the first and second. Because according to Meir, if it rains from the 3rd day to the 7th day, which is only a 4-day gap, then you should also have to count 1 and 2. But he doesn't say that. Our memory was if it rains 7 days, then I can count 1 and 2. According to Meir, it should only have to rain 4 days. There's no 7-day gap. Then he goes, let's say, Bainis b'shiva v'yafilu b'shiva asar bay, or in the shiva asar. And then he doesn't say where the third one is, I guess. But anyway, no, there's no 7-day gap over here. It wouldn't make sense to go. But you'd also b'shiva aser, b'shiva the 7th of Yud Zayin, which is 10 days. So 7 and 17 is 7. Then u'b'asim v'shleisha, 17 to 23 is only 6 days. So the only person that has 7-day gaps is Rabbi Yossi. Because Rabbi Yossi says Yud Zayin b'asim v'shleisha, v'shchaydish kislev. So I guess according to him, okay. You have to according to Yehuda, it would work the second from Yudzayin to Esrim Shosh, but it wouldn't work the first gap. Again, just we have to explain over here. The Bryce over here, the memo over here said this Bryce said that if it rains 7 consecutive days, I can count it as 2 different rains. But the only shita that has that would apply to both the first and second rain and the second and third rain is Rabbi Yossi. Because according to other shitas, the gaps are too small in the first rain. According to Basi, both rains are spaced out by 7 days, so it would make sense that if it rains for 7 consecutive days, either if it's in the beginning, I can count it as 1 and 2, and if it's towards the end, I count it as 2 and 3. Bishleim, fine. Bishleim Rabbi Rishayna Lishal. No, we have three zmanim of rain. So I understand why we need a first zman lishal, because the first after we start asking for rain, and the zman of the first rainfall. So if that's the first zman of rain, that's when I start asking. Shlishis, now the cutoff, the end. Let's honest. Well, if I don't have rain by the 3rd rainfall, then I have to start fasting. But shliya lamai, what do I need to know this zman of the second rain? What does it do for me? I'm Rav Zera Linadara. For someone who makes a promise, what does that mean? The Tanan. If someone says, I'm going to make a note that I won't have any enough from chocolate until the rain falls. What does that mean? Until the second rainfall. The first rainfall is not enough of a rainfall for him to eat chocolate. The second rainfall, but he doesn't have to wait for the 3rd rainfall. That's the point of that. Zviramar l'zeisim for olives. The Tanan me'emisai kol adam mutarim beleket. So we're going to go on a little tangent, but the end is going to talk about the olives. Me'emisai kol adam mutarim beleket b'shechel peah. Right? We know the halacha is a person has to leave over in his field. Leket shechel peah. Leket is if he drops a few. I think if he leaves one bundle, then he has to leave it there. I'm sorry. The leket is that a few kernels drop off. He has to leave them there. Shechah is if he forgets a whole bundle, he has to leave it. This is halachas that when we had this previous in the end of site that we discussed this a little bit. And peah is that there's just like the paz on your head, you can't cut the ends. So too, there's no shear for peah. We say that in the morning that there's no real shear. But if I have a field, I have to leave over a corner, whatever that is. Technically, I can leave over 2 stalks and then it's a peah. But there's no real share to that, but I just leave over. I don't plow all the way. I don't chop over then. I leave that for the aniyah. This is not shvi. This is the whole year, all 6 years. So when can the owner of the field go back and get the stuff? In other words, let's say I leave a bundle. I can never touch it again. At what point do we say that we're not taking it? So mishiyachu hanamashos. When the namashos, we're gonna touch it later because the Gemara is gonna have 2 different shatim, so we'll just touch it namashos. Whenever this category of namashos go through, these people who are called namashos, when they pass through my field, after that, whatever's left over is up for grabs. I could even take it. The parrot u'ba'ilis. What's the shear of parrot u'ba'ilis? Which are the grapes that fell down early from the vineyard, or for the clusters that are deformed and not like zafte good clusters, which also have to be left over for aniyim. When they do a second lap, when they go through the field, they leave and they come back. So they went already twice. No one's going to come back a third time to uh, to to look for more stuff. So once the guys go in and out, and once they come back, then I can go whatever's left over. I can pick. The zaysim, when can I go pick up my? When can I go chop the olives? The second rainfall, I can pick zaysim. So therefore, again, going back, this is the point of why we wrote down this mishnah, because for zaysim, that's the shear. The second rain is the shear that I can go into my own field and pick out the zaysim that were left over. My namashas. Now we're going back just to analyze the mishnah. What does the word term namashas mean? I'm going to we have a few different explanations. Old people that go on with a cane, so they walk very slowly and they don't miss anything. The young guys, they run, they pick up all the obvious stuff, but the old people, they didn't get, they're not a Sarah Shana, they're not the first people on the field. It takes them longer together, and they go through it very slowly and methodically, and they pick up all the little scraps. So if they went through the field, no one's going in after that. If you know that the Zaydis already went through, there's probably nothing left. So whatever, if I happen to be walking through and I see something that's not lechach shechem anymore, I'm allowed to eat it. If they have a tag team, if two people go together and they collect together, so one stands behind the other, they know that if you see two people going together after they pass by, so if they're in competition with each other, then it's not the case. This is, I think, referring to if it's two people that are going together. So you have one person that tops the obvious, the other person's more medaic and finds the small stuff, but so no one's going to go in after that. They know that they already got everything. Okay, so it's going back on what we said before, but this is two different ways of two different types of the word namasha. It's either that the old people touch they go on with the canes, or that a tag team goes in together. And either way, after they go in, where the ashirim, doesn't mean the dafka asher, but the owners of the field, the balabatim, are allowed to go in. But Papa Amar, another reason too why I need another purpose for this for this zman of the second rain. Today in order until then I could walk into the paths into like the easements, the public paths. They're not public. They're rishus yachid, but people have the right to walk on them. But after the second rain, I can't walk there anymore. Because after the second rain, the ground is already wet enough that things are going to get ruined. To have to take out of your house the payers of shvius. The halacha is that I'm allowed to shvius. My field is hefker, but everyone's allowed to eat from hefker, even me. So I can't do anything to the land and fix it up, and I can't put a fence around it. I can't not let people out. I can't charge people. I can't operate as an owner, but I can operate as a shnar. So I can go outside if I'm hungry. I don't have to go to someone else's. I can go to my own field also. It's hefker for me also. But at what point do I have to start taking stuff out of my house? In other words, I go out and I start loading up my pantry full of food. So could you hoard like that? So what's the share? So we have. So this is the share. The Tanan as Masay Nanin the Sarfin. When can I use, and I think burn, it's any usage. When can I use the tevin and the kash? It doesn't mean only tevin and kash. It means even. But when can I use anything to do with Paris? Until the second fall. Why? Because my time. So this is the limit. This is explaining the halacha of why there's any zman. And it says by Shemitah, it should be for your animals, which is your domesticated animals, so the animals that are reliant on you, and to that's on that's roaming that's roaming the ground. So we said Kolzman shechaya chelas basada ha'echel lebehem techav Kolzman that there's food available for the chayas in the field, then you could still feed your animals at home. But once there's nothing left on the field, and this second rain ruins whatever food was left outside, it ruins it to the point where there's nothing left. So if I have a bunch of straw that I saved in my barn for my animals, but the second rain came already and destroyed whatever's in the field. It get turned into mush and nasty. The animal's not going to be able to eat that. So I have to take out the food. I cannot use the food from my animals. For my animals. So I can take it, put it into the field, and then my animals can go graze in my field. They're not worse than anyone else. I can no longer act like an owner in this tour.
Why?
Because it's Shemitah food. So Shemitah, I'm not allowed to act like an owner. The second I have leftovers from Shemitah, the second that I have food from Shemitah that is no longer available in the field, I'm already acting like an owner.
Because after the rain, there's nothing
After
left
the rain,
there.
it gets all.
You have to take it out of your
warehouse. Yeah, that's what it says. You have to take it out from your warehouse. You can't operate as an owner with that stuff. I'm gonna my lashon revia. What's the lashon revia that we keep on referring to the rain? It penetrates and it penetrates the ground. The rain is a husband to the ground. Because again, it penetrates and impregnates and causes to grow from the ground. I just lost it. Shenema kikashi yered agashem v'hashelag and hashemayim v'shama yashuv, and it doesn't return back to the shemayim. No, the rain and the snow comes down from the shemayim and it doesn't go back. Gim hirva as aretz v'yilida v'tzmicha. See that the lashon of hirva it penetrates the ground and it impregnates. Halida is lashon of vlad, the child, v'tzmicha, and it quenches the thirst. So you see that's the pas that he brings to show that's where he uses that lashon. Amrav avo. What is this considered that we have a full rain? If it rains for 12 seconds, it's considered a first rain. Like what's the shear of rain? So it has to go into the ground at tefach. So if I go into the ground, it has to be moist. A tefach deep. Shnia, what's the gather? What's the shear of a second rain? And these are all going to be more relevant when we discuss like the protocol if it doesn't happen. They logov ba pichavis when the earth is so moist that I could take it and coat and cover a barrel with it. It's like it has like that texture, like a more muddy, right? If it's dry dirt, I can't cover a barrel with it. It doesn't have any hole to it. It's not going to keep any form. Mm-hmm. So when it's wet enough and it's saturated enough that I can use it as like a clay. Yeah. Exactly, that it clumps together and it's shapeable. You could make it into a shape and it could actually hold the form. That's the shear of that's the shear of the second rain. When I have the rain that falls to this level that we just said that can cover the opening of a barrel, that means it's out of the category of the atzar, which is when Hashem said in Shema that I'm going to withhold rain from you. That means when we're out of that category because we have rain, the earth is moist enough. I hate that word, but is saturated enough that it could cover the barrel. That's not considered the klala of atzar. It's just a little bit of a play on words. He's saying that if it falls before I say va'atzar, it doesn't mean I say the word va'atzar, but it means before I say kriya shema, which inside kriya shema is the word va'atzar. So that's what it's referring to. Ein behen mishum va'atzar. It's not considered va'atzar anymore. Maya, which kriya shema are you talking about? He means that it has to fall before the night. So in other words, if let's say there's different sheets. Let's say the third of the month, right? We said the third of Cheshvan, the seventh of Cheshvan, right? Or Yudzayin according to Abiyasi. So if let's say the day before, if I'm saying Kriya Shema Alamita, if I'm saying Kriya Shema Shalmayra the night before, it has to fall the day before. In other words, the day before the night.
Oh wow!
Before Kriya Shema of the third, that of the Zman. That's how at least that's why I understand the Gemara. But if it rains early morning or during the night, so after I said Kriya Shema of the night, right? But before, again, obviously it doesn't depend on whether I said Kriya Shema. It means Zman Kriya Shema. But but before, if it rains before Kriya Shema Shacharis, even if it falls by Yom of that day, then it's still considered Atzar, but it's still not enough. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yitzchak shows us in the pasuk. Hani anane the tafra lesbuhu mishasha. He said that these clouds of the morning aren't mashasha. They're not of worth of mamashas. They're not significant. Hakadosh Baruch Hu's like fetching in a way to Ephraim and Yehuda, and he says, Ma esalecha Ephraim, Ma esalecha Yehuda. What am I going to do with you guys, Ephraim and Yehuda? V'chastechem kanan boiker, and your chasadim, what you do good is like morning clouds. It's nothing. It's missing its depth. Whatever the taina on Ephraim and Yehuda was, that's how Hashem's comparing them to the morning clouds. So you see that the morning clouds are not significant enough to create bracha. People say the miftach the babei mitra when the gates open. In other words, in the morning, it should rain. Sakach ugni. I'm not sure what this means. What does this mean? That in the morning when it rains, then sorry. The rain falls when the gates are open, which means early morning. Then the donkey driver can go home because it's going to be such plentiful food. Then there's not going to be any there's going to be so much food that's going to be hard to make a living buying and selling food from one place to the other. So that's lashon. When there's a morning rain, which is referred to, the morning is referred to when the gates open, because the gates of the city are closed that night. So when the gates in the city open and there's rain, so early morning, if there's rain early morning, then the wagon driver should go home because there's no trading over here. There's nothing going to happen. He's not going to be able to make any money. So which shows that the morning rains are good, right? Which is not what we said. When there's heavy clouds, so it means it's going to rain throughout the day. It's going to be geshmaka rain. Okay, so then then it's going to go. But what we're talking about earlier, where he said it's a problem if it rains in the early morning, that when it's shaka clouds, then it's not going to really come out strong. I'm Rabbi Yehuda. It's a good year when Tavis is dry. Our Malta is lashon of widow, and we said Rabbi Yehuda just said that the water is like the husband of the ground. So you see, when there's no rain, then the ground is widowed. He's using the same sprach to say his point. But he's basically saying that when Tavis is a dry year, it's going to be a good year. The rain and the zmanim.
The husband and the wife of the rain.
The rain and the ground's makabel, makabel and
Mamhei.
I don't
know what it is. I know it's something.
I know what you're talking about. Whether it comes from above, or it starts from the top and goes down, or starts from the ground and goes up. Okay, I have to look into it. So there's two explanations of what Rabbi Yehuda said. Right? Rabbi Yehuda said something he didn't explain what he said. He just said when Tavis is a dry year, it's going to be a good year. When Tavis is a dry month, it's going to be a good year. What does that mean? Because it's not going to because it's not going to. You know what this means? What is it? What does he say?
Then the place of third dissemination.
Yeah, but is that the first lashon or the second? I think it's the second lashon. There's two explanations. Oh, right. Because the roads are going to be dry, and people will be able to go learn. So it's going to be a good year because we're going to have time. Another way of learning is delay shaka shutfa, because it's not going to the winter winds, the cold winds are not going to affect the crop if it's not wet. So if Tavis is dry, then the crop won't be affected as much by the cold winter winds. It's not like that. In other words, again, Rabbi Yehuda is saying that Tavis, if it's dry, is a good simon. But Rabbi Chizda, not like that. It's good when Tavis is everything is wet. According to what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, that Tavis should be dry is if there was enough rainfall before Tavis. But Rav Chizah is saying no. If there wasn't enough rainfall in Davis, obviously we need Davis to be soaking wet. So we have everything. Everything is able to grow. If rain falls on part of a country and not on another part of a country, it doesn't fall into this category of the atzar of that the rain is held back. Talking about any, I'm going to hold back from you the rain, but within when there's still 3 months to plant. Is to reap. The himtarti al ir achas al ir achas lo yamter, and I'm going to make it rain in one place and not make it rain in another place. The pasuk in the Shulchan. One place, one chelik, one part, one area. I'm going to make rain in the other part not. They're both meant for kala. Obviously, the holding back rain is obviously a kala, and the chiddush is that even the second part of some places going to rain, some places not going to rain. Then that's also kala. So you see, that's not what Rav Chizah said. Rav Chizah said if I rain part of it, part yeah and part not, then it's not a problem. Like Hasha had the asa tuva, had the asa can be violated. Rav Chizah is saying that it was enough.
Right.
So therefore,
this place was good. So therefore, over here,
good. So even though it doesn't rain over here at all, but this is going to be enough to feed the whole crew. Right. This is going to feed the whole country. Right, so
over here, no one's getting.
And over here, because one didn't get, and one got too much. So the one that got too much, the crops got ruined, and then the other place didn't get any rain, so they have no crops. So nobody eats. The lashon of timater is that is that there's a lot of rain, and the place is called a place of rain. So Shramina that it's excessive rain that we were just talking about, and Rav Chizah is talking about that it's sufficient rain. One more. When do we start making a bracha on the geshamim? Now we don't do this. When the chassan comes to get the kala, what does that mean? It means two pshat. The simplest one is when a raindrop falls, when there's already a puddle on the floor, so the top spritzes back up. So it looks like the chassan is going back up to the kala, even though we said that the chassan we said that the rain is the chassan. But over here, it's basically the rain, and we're calling both of the same thing. No, we're saying there's like the rain from the bottom comes up to reach the rain that's coming up, even though that actually doesn't.
They continue to fall.
Right.
Meaning the drop on the ground is already the kala. It's already counted as the kala, I think. Maybe. And then it's.
No, but that's the chassan. We're saying the chassan comes up to greet the kala.
It's a chassan.
That the water on the bottom comes up to reach the top. But whatever, it's a different analogy. It's not a kasha. It's different people saying different things. But it's just a metaphor of that the rain from the rain that's on the bottom formed the puddle, and when it splashes, the new rain comes down. It creates a splash, so it looks like the little droplets are going back up to greet the kala. So what's the bracha? Rav Yehuda Amarav, I'll call tipa the tipa shahirat lanu on every drop that you bring us. Rav Yochanan Messiah Bahaku Ilu Fina Malashir Kayam Lashin Arena Kamangalav. Even if we had all this ability where our mouths were full of shira, like the ocean, and I'm not sure Kamangalav as we say this all the time, but our tongues were able to express like the waves of the ocean. Oh, okay. Ad al Yazvuna Rachamecha Hashem Lekena V'Lo Yazavanu. Until the end of it says Ad Yazvuna Rachamecha Hashem Lo Yazavanu. Baruch Roiv Haydais. Hashem benched Roiv Haydais. Roiv Haydais like all Haydais. Amarava Ema Kel Haydais. Say Kel Haydais more neutral lashon. Amarav Papa Hilchach Nimrinu L'Tavayu. Kel Haydais Roiv Haydais. Say both. Say Kel Haydais Roiv Haydais. Okay. Shreich, thank you for joining us, and we'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow I have a class in Brooklyn, but we'll try to do it on Zoom.